This story's close to my heart, and it's personal too. It's the story of a largely forgotten London-born photographer, James Jarche. Jarche had a long and illustrious career on Fleet Street. He began photographing before the First World War, and his images continued to be printed as front-page stories up until the 1950s.
He always said it was a wonderful life. It was a difficult life. It was a tough life. It wasn't the world of the paparazzi as we know it today, though. This was pure news.
Jarche took a good number of images that have become iconic. Churchill in top hat, peeking from cover at the siege of Sydney Street. The candid shot of Edward with a mystery woman before she'd been identified as Wallis Simpson. With his camera, Jarche recorded many of the great figures of his day. His story is personal for me because he was the man I knew as Jimmy. He was my maternal grandfather. I grew up under his spell, loving him dearly, and it was Jimmy who gave me my first camera, coached me in photography, and passed on his passion for it.
And he used to say to me, when you look through the camera, it's not what you see, it's how you see it. The greatest part of your whole equipment has nothing to do with this, it's to do with this. It's to do with your lens.
50 years ago, Jimmy gave me his last camera, a Leica M3. I'm now going to use it to photograph the world today. And in an attempt to understand his career better, I'm going to do what he did. I'm going to be sent on assignments across Britain to experience what it's like to be a press photographer. I'm going to photograph the sort of images that Jimmy might have been asked to photograph. I'm going to shoot some of the places and the people that he shot. London seems to be a different city from the one I knew as a boy. So much has changed about Britain during my lifetime. Jimmy once photographed the Thames from a vantage point high up on the famous Shell building.
Oh my goodness me. Makes me go quite cold. Here I am. This is almost exactly the same spot. Look at that. And actually, he saw a bit of history being made because this building was being built at the time, over 80 years ago. And there are the girders. It's a snapshot of history. It's timeless, and yet it isn't timeless. Things have moved on, and yet so much is still the same.
Jimmy's father had a modest photographic business by Tower Bridge. He died when Jimmy was only 10, leaving his son and wife to run the family business. It was by necessity that Jimmy became a professional photographer when he was still just a boy. I also grew up in London with my brothers John and Peter. We all remember Jimmy because he came to live with us when he was an old man. He was hugely charismatic, and he entertained us all with his vivid stories. We, of course, knew him as our beloved grandfather, rather than as a photographer with a lifelong career on Fleet Street. To find out more about Jimmy the photographer, I've come to Getty Images to meet the man who runs the archive, Matthew Butson.
This is the largest commercial archive in the world.
Yes.
There's about 85 million images here on site.
Wow.
A lot of them we know about because they're well catalogued, but a lot of them we don't. So we're still finding stuff that we didn't even know we had. So it's like an Aladdin's cave. Most of this stuff is all catalogued, so we've got the day books and the index cards and what have you.
I'm wondering how many of Jimmy's photographs that have never seen the light of day might lie buried in these racks.
Sometimes you get continuity problems, so you get a run of negatives and then you think, where's the rest gone?
Yeah.
And they've gone into another collection. So sometimes it's like trying to put a jigsaw back together. So there is gold in them Nar Hills, it's just a case of finding it.
It really is, in my genre, a detective story.
Absolutely.
To try and find out.
No, definitely.
And obvious question, did you find any?
Well, we found a few.
Did you?
Well, I think you'll be interested, yeah.
Really?
Hope so. So if you look at the negatives, these are 66 years old. Beautiful.
And that's his photograph?
Yeah, and you've got, you know, the original caption slugs on even the back of
So it's the same.
the contacts.
Jarche, Life in Berlin. British soldiers sitting... sitting in Hitler's desk.
Turned
upside down. My goodness
And
me.
then, you see, and then it leads to the actual published story.
Yes. Wow. Look at the devastation in Berlin.
That's one of my favourite in the Reichstag.
That's a wonderful picture. Look how sharp this is.
He was using available light, which
Yes.
is obviously you can see coming down the stairs from a lamppost or something. If you sort of look at some of the colour work,
good.
that transparency, it could have been taken yesterday.
That's extraordinary picture of George Bernard Shaw.
Absolutely pin sharp as well.
George Bernard Shaw used to say, I like you, Jarche, because you don't make me look like a white rat. He did.
Well,
Well, he didn't, did he? Look.
no, I suppose.
I mean, that's a wonderful portrait, isn't it? I've not seen that.
Shooting. No, it's a fabulous picture.
Oh,
But it's
are
just-
these all his front pages?
Yeah, every single one of these. And this is just a smattering. You know, he was a regular on the front page.
Was he?
Sometimes 3 weeks out of, 4 in a month. That's how highly they regarded him.
Was he very highly
Oh, I
regarded?
think so, absolutely.
It just makes me so proud of him. Look how he got it. Look at this.
I know, because it's almost
Look.
like a veil on her face, isn't it?
Through the tennis racket, he's given her a veil. I mean, that's not
Absolutely.
just reportage.
No, I think that's what made Jarche so interesting. He was very versatile in what he captured. He covered every gamut of photography.
Oh, look. The victory portrait of Winston Churchill, taken by my grandfather. Boom, boom.
That's a fabulous portrait.
Isn't that
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Oh, beautiful. What strikes me is all these front covers, they're all people. And that's how I remember him. He loved people. Look, another one. The people, people, people. He was really a people's photographer.
I'm amazed by the quantity and the quality of Jimmy's work that Matt's been able to dredge up from the depths of Getty's archive. It's a joy to see so many of his images that are totally new to me. I'm beginning to form a clearer impression of my grandfather and the huge body of work he left behind. Jimmy was able to get along with anyone. It was a quality that stood him in good stead as a portrait photographer. I find that many of his portraits really look beneath the skin to capture the sitter's character. I'd like to try my hand at doing what he did.
One more.
I've been given a few minutes with a series of people in a studio to capture the essence of who they are and what they do.
That's brilliant. Nice big smile. Right. Go on. Hold it. Thank you very much, Mr. And a nice smile. Now at me. Thank you.
Oh, the shark has
Hello. How are you?
pretty teeth, dear.
Sometimes I would say cheese.
Oh, good. Good. Yes, you do that.
Occasionally.
Just a jackknife has back heat, dear. And he keeps it outside.
And just look at me down there. That's it. Thank you.
On the trail of my press photographer grandfather, James Jarche, I've come to the Royal Ballet School to see if I can capture something of these talented dancers. Like Jimmy, I too get a huge kick from photographing people. But the difference between us is, he was a pro. Photography for me is a passion, but I've never known how it really feels to be sent on an assignment and told, don't come back unless you get the shot. To discuss the rigour involved in getting that shot, I've come to a place that's always prided itself in publishing the world's top photographers, the Sunday Times magazine. I'm here to meet the picture editor, John Jones. John impressed on me just how important the invention of cameras like my Leica has been for photojournalism.
This suddenly freed people up to kind of run around, different angles, shoot a lot of film as opposed to one shot, and shoot stories. Because plate camera, you couldn't carry 10, 12, 15, 20 plates. You would have a couple of plates.
Oh, that's very interesting. So the small film camera, because it has so much film in it, you can actually do story photography.
Exactly. For me, that's the key thing. Narrative, shooting different shapes, different angles, different viewpoints. So it's about breaking down what you see. So if you took all your prints from whatever story you were shooting and you laid it all out and you made your edit and you started top left and ran your eye across all the columns, by when you get to bottom right, you should understand everything about that story.
So rather than looking for the picture that would win a competition every time,
exactly,
just go for the story picture.
The story. Because for me, as an editor, we have to lay this out. So I have to be able to have the options.
Okay, okay.
It doesn't take much just to turn the camera and shoot another frame.
And would you worry too much about aperture and this sort of thing? Would you demand that accuracy from me all the time?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a given. This just does it.
Okay. You're not going to make it easy, are you?
No.
With John's advice in the forefront of my mind, I'm following in the footsteps of one of Jimmy's most moving picture stories. In the summer of 1931, Jimmy was sent to South Wales to photograph the mining communities of the Rhondda Valley. This series of mining photographs from 80 years ago contain for me some of his most enduring images. Welsh mining was at the time in the grip of a harsh recession. The stark images that Jimmy captured are pure social documentary and take me back into a forgotten world.
That's all right. He's in the frame. Lovely. Lovely. Do you live here?
Yeah, Holyrood up there.
I tell you what, I'm trying to find this.
I recognise you from somewhere, I don't know where.
Do you?
Off the telly, is it maybe?
Could be.
What's your name, sorry?
David Suchet.
I thought it was. How are you doing, Mr. Suchet, all right?
It's very nice to meet you.
Right.
What's your name?
Leighton Jones, my name.
Leighton?
Yeah.
And what's, that's,
Max.
he's lovely, isn't he?
Yeah, he's good boy.
Do you recognise that street?
Yeah, they've been there. I don't... The thing is, they all look the same. They were basically where they had the small gardens in the front and the toilets then run all to the back.
Oh, these
like.
are toilets?
Yeah, this used all the outside toilets, but yeah.
Oh,
all of them, yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
How long ago were these all changed, all this changed?
No, I can't remember it being like that. But like, it used to be up to 16, 17 people living in these houses.
That many?
Yeah, believe it or not. Well, so my father-in-law used to tell me, because he gave me a hand, well, I gave him a hand to fix the house up and everything like that. He used to run through the stories. But they never used to be there all at one time, except on a Sunday.
Oh,
and on a Sunday, they'd all gather outside the fire and sing songs and organ and all that.
Oh, it's quite a community like
Yeah.
all
It
the
was a
street
big
get
community
together.
spirit, yeah.
Well, thank you, Leighton, very, very much.
Come on in, Max.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
I wonder. I think I found it. Well, I mean, I don't know for sure, but look. There's the front gardens. There's the houses. Here's the road. I think this could be it. And there's a step. There's a step in the houses just about here. And Jimmy would have been able to stand up on here to get that. I think I found it. Oh, hello. I'm David Suchet.
Hello, yes, I can see you.
Now, my grandfather took a picture of one of the streets around here,
Yeah.
and I just wondered if you would know that. Is this your street?
Yes, this is our street, yes.
Is it?
Yes, Mrs. Ackerman.
Hello.
Her daughter, Betty,
Yeah.
her father,
Yeah.
and her husband. And that chicken's from number 18.
The
See
chicken.
the chicken?
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Owens.
Yeah, Mr. Owen. I can remember it.
How long have you lived here?
I'm 87.
You're not.
I am, so I was born here.
Where were you living at the time of the photograph?
Number 5.
You were number 5.
I was born 5.
This was your house?
That wasn't our door, though.
No, they've changed the door.
Yeah,
But you lived here
I lived in there.
when this picture was taken.
Yes.
Did everybody have similar jobs in this area?
Yeah,
or-
well, this is mostly miners.
Are they miners?
Yes.
Was this gentleman, was he a miner?
I would think
This
so.
young one, they're all
Yes,
miners?
Yes, miners.
What was your dad?
Miner.
He was a miner?
Yes. And my husband.
And your husband was a
Yes,
miner? Oh,
yes.
right.
I could tell you lots of stories about that house, but I won't. I know we were forbidden to go there.
Why?
Don't you dare go to Mrs. Ackerman's. They're not very clean. So, of course, we would always say, no, we won't go, Mum. But, of course, when Mum went in, we went in.
And then you saw... Was it just a dirty house then?
Well, the little boy, he said, Mum, I want to go to the toilet. So she said, oh, it's raining nasty. Go on, she said, have a wee on the mat. She said, the fire will dry it. Now, I remember that. And I was forbidden to go up there. And now I wanted
This
to
is
tell-
why the house was dirty,
Yeah,
Betty.
I wanted to tell my mother, and I couldn't tell her because she knew I'd been up there if I had told her.
You'd have been in trouble.
Oh, I would have, yes. So I had to keep to myself.
Are you ready? Nice smile, then. That's great. Thank you very, very much. Okay, back further. That's pretty good to me, because if that chimney was growing out the side there, there's the old road, but it's extraordinary. I mean, I'm virtually standing where Jimmy was. It's very exciting. Got it. I got it. I got to take that away because that'll clear my view, but I'm going to take this picture from here. Thank you very, very much.
I discover that in the valleys of South Wales, there's been a recent resurgence in mining. A number of old pits have opened up, and mining is an employer here once again for young men whose fathers and grandfathers worked underground.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I was so pleased to know that your grandfather had taken a picture of my father.
He what? He took a picture of your
My
dad?
father, yes.
In the... Come and show me, come and show me. In here?
My father was a little man and always worked with the horses.
Is that your dad?
Yes, that's him.
Oh my goodness.
My father worked from Penalta from 1930 until he was 69. There was no retiring age then. They worked as long as they wanted to.
Wow.
So in the 60s, we made him finish at 65, but before then, there was men down the pit at 70, sometimes 80.
Did you work in the pits?
Yes, I went down the pit, this pit.
Come and have a look at this. Look. It's his dad.
I left school when I was 14, and I went down Penalta pit.
Yeah.
I was a collier down here from 1939 to 1970.
Is it nice to see your dad like that?
Yes, yes.
What did it make you feel when you see Dad like that?
I'm thinking a lot.
Right?
Because my father had gone through the 14 war and went back down the pit. So, he's seen a long life, hard life. This is the number 1 shaft.
Yes.
So the one is a downcast, that one.
Yes.
So the air went down that one,
Uh-huh.
circulated, and up the upcast, the number 2.
And how deep is this?
About half a mile.
Really? Yeah. Half a mile down. Tough life?
Hard life. Well, these boys know.
Is it really tough down there?
Not as bad as it was years ago.
No,
No.
Nowhere
it's
near as
better
bad,
now.
no.
But,
Yeah.
And how much coal do you produce today?
Hopefully we're looking to produce 1 million tonne a year, hopefully.
I really didn't know that mining still existed in the way it existed 50, 60 years ago. You know, I'm witnessing the past in the present. It's schizophrenic for me to see miners come out in that state. It reminds me of so many of my grandfather's photographs. I mean, it hasn't changed. Thank you. Thank you very much. So how long have you been down the mine?
33 years. I started in 1979 in Britannia Mining School of Training. And
All that time. And you? How long have you been?
3 weeks.
3 weeks?
Yeah, just started.
So, are you...
Father and son.
Your father and son?
Father and son.
That's really lovely.
I'm very familiar with the pictures of my grandfather with General Eisenhower and General Montgomery. I know that during the Second World War, Jimmy was working for both Illustrated and Life magazine. But I've never had a very precise idea of where exactly they sent him with his camera. My brother John has experience of war zones from his time as a correspondent in Afghanistan, but I can only imagine what it takes to be a war photographer. We decided to visit the archives of the Imperial War Museum, where assistant curator Rosanna Wilkinson had dug out a heap of Jimmy's photographs.
This is the campaign in Libya, Libya, Lebanon.
Libya?
Mm.
Goodness me. Did you know Jimmy had been to Libya?
I had no idea.
This is it. That's the man. There he is.
Oh my
There's Jimmy.
goodness.
There he is.
I think that's when he first arrived. March 1941, he immediately set out on the trail of the Australians across the desert, and they were fighting for this Italian oasis village of Diyarbakir. And he arrived 2 days after they'd taken the village, and he was there to photograph the Italian dead.
Really?
So those were amongst the first sights that he saw, really, when he arrived.
Goodness me.
Australian soldier finds a bust in bronze of Mussolini and wishes it were alive because he's strangling it.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah, lovely.
Look at that.
God, look at that print. Italian prisoners.
That's a great photo.
He's in North Africa in 41. When did he go to
41.
Burma?
He went to Burma in early 1942. The Japanese invaded in early 42, so that's what he was photographing. So it's a 180-mile road that they're trying to get Indian refugees going.
Yes.
Irrawaddy.
One photograph that is quite well known.
Oh, look at that.
It's a portrait of a Chindit who's using his rucksack to shield his face from the sun.
Oh my goodness.
And this is quite well known because we get a lot of people writing in thinking that it's a relative. Quite a few people write in and are convinced they can identify this person. And sadly, we can't really confirm it because he's not been identified.
It's a wonderful picture.
It is. I think it's a brilliant shot.
That is a brilliant picture.
Oh, yeah. See, that's what I always knew him as, was as a
Oh
news.
my
Look at that.
God. Oh,
I suppose he, you know...
That is terrible.
Never spoke to us about any of that, did he?
No.
Body of a Japanese airman killed with 5 others when a bomber was shot down by RAF fighters. God, dear.
Although it was something he preferred not to talk about, Jimmy had obviously recorded many of the more horrific aspects of war. In North Africa and the Far East, he felt the heat of battle and experienced what it's like to be under fire. I've joined up with the British Army during training. It's a simulated battle, but it gives me a much clearer idea of how it feels to be caught in the thick of things, armed only with a Leica.
The extraordinary thing about this is the thing is, when you look at this, you're almost immune. You're not aware of the danger. You're sort of removed from it. It's all happening so quickly, and you never know if you're going to be in the right place at the right time. You never know whether you've got to... Look at the window! You've got to change film. Keep coming. I've just lost the film. I have just lost this film. I've opened the back and I thought it was wound on. Oh, my goodness me.
The language Jimmy might have used to describe my performance under fire, I suspect would not get past the censor. Even though this wasn't a real fight, I can tell you it's incredibly hard to operate a camera with gunfire raging about you. It only gives me even more respect for Jimmy and all war photographers who really do go into battle. Jimmy took an historic photograph here at the Cenotaph in November 1937. During the 2-minute silence, a man ran out screaming. And as the police pounced on him and wrestled him to the ground, just yards from the king, Jimmy got the shot.
But look, no one turns a hair.
We've got Attlee.
Attlee.
Chamberlain.
Yes. And that was a stolen photograph because you're not allowed to take pictures at that point. And that appeared in the Weekly Illustrated.
Yeah.
So,
I had no idea there was an incident of that sort of nature.
Jimmy's theatre photographs are a striking contrast to his images of war. I find these pictures particularly fascinating. I'm heading backstage to photograph the cast of the West End musical Wicked. As an actor, I know only too well how it feels to be photographed. For me, it's all about the trust and intimacy established between photographer and sitter.
The boys watch the girls while the girls watch the boys who watch the girls go by. Eye to eye, they solemnly convene to make this scene, which is the name of the game. Watch a guy or watch a dame on any street in town. Up and down, and over and across, romance is bound.
Thank you very much.
Guys talk, girl talk, it happens everywhere. Eyes watch, girls walk.
Jimmy took these colour images of a London show called the Lilac Domino in 1944. I'm curious to know what a pro feels about them.
Where's the light source there?
Terry O'Neill, famous for his movie star portraits, began as a press photographer on the same London paper as Jimmy.
Great. I mean, it's like a painting, isn't it?
It is.
Sharp as a tack. I mean, you couldn't beat that today.
Look at that. Is that cheeky?
Yes. That was very risque at the time.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you bring out your subjects when you...
Well, I mean, I prefer to be totally ignored.
Literally,
Yeah,
just sort of...
be invisible. That's the best.
What's the most
thing.
difficult portrait you've ever had to take?
Oh, God. Aging sex symbols.
Aging sex symbols?
Yeah, as they get older.
Seriously?
Yeah, no. I mean, Raquel Welsh happens to be a friend of mine, but in the beginning, she'd be half an hour. When she was 30, she'd be an hour, 40, 2 hours, and 50, 3 hours, and so on. I mean, they are a nightmare. They think they let people down.
Oh.
Which, in a sense, they do, but you can't defy nature, can you?
No.
No. And that's great as well. I'd love to have met him.
Jimmy was always very comfortable photographing Hollywood glamour. And more importantly, he made them feel comfortable.
Just like that. I'm just gonna focus down.
Making a portrait of a performer is one thing. Shooting a performance in motion is another skill altogether.
When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. When the world seems to shine like you've had too much wine, that's amore. Bells will ring, ting-a-ling-a-ling, ting-a-ling-a-ling, and you'll
continue that.
Great.
Great.
Hearts will play tippy-tippy-tay, like a gay tarantella.
Oh, great. This is fantastic, isn't it? I don't know how I'm going to get anything at all. Bravo!
I've literally been looking at the world through Jimmy's lens these past few weeks, while on the same sort of assignments that his editor might have sent him on. But I'd still love to be able to photograph someone that Jimmy actually photographed. Amazingly, I've managed to find them, and remarkably, they're still doing the same job. Jimmy said that in his early days, if you could get within 30 yards of royalty, you were a first-class photographer. To him, it was all about access. Jimmy photographed the Queen even before she became the Queen. He photographed her at her coronation, and many times afterwards too. During his lifetime, he saw the formal relationship between the press and the palace relax enormously. But to be up so close, photographing the Queen with Jimmy's old Leica is really momentous for me. I can hear him on my shoulder. In there, boy. Keep it steady. Keep it sharp. Get the shot. Any decent press photographer must have what it takes to get the scoop. They probably need a pretty thick skin and very often the gift of the gab to get behind the closed doors of powerful institutions. On many occasions, Jimmy managed to gain incredibly privileged access to capture intimate, behind-the-scenes moments with Prime Ministers. Labour Prime Minister Clement Attlee at home in Stanmore, Liberal Prime Minister David Lloyd George in Churt, and Conservative Prime Minister Winston Churchill. It's amazing to me that Jimmy managed to achieve such relaxed cooperation with these past leaders. His is a pretty hard act to follow. But now it's my moment to see what I can pull out of the bag.
Prime Minister.
David, welcome. Really,
Thank
really,
you.
great to have you here.
That's kind of you.
This is a fantastic picture. This is the Jarche picture of Churchill. And
Yes.
apparently it took ages trying to get the right shot, and Churchill was puffing this cigar all the way through. And the moment he got the shot was he pulled the cigar out of his mouth, and then Churchill made this rather angry face, and that was the bulldog picture that, you know, helped to inspire the nation. It's a great picture.
Great picture. Jimmy got this one. There was the victory picture.
That's fantastic. And actually, amazingly, that looks clear. That's not the brandy you'd expect. It's quite interesting.
That's true.
But it's a very good picture. And we'll wander up the stairs and I'll show you some of the others. This is a great place to come and see prime ministerial pictures. They don't put your picture up till you've gone. That's the only...
I mean, you've been photographed thousands of times. What's it like being photographed? Are you ever worried about what they might catch or not catch?
When you walk under the sign saying exit, or you know, that you have to... Sometimes there's suddenly a flurry of clicks, and you think, right, what was it behind me? And you have a look. But I had one great moment when I got one over the photographers, where I was in the underground in Delhi, and I was standing in front of a model of the drill that had helped to drill out the Delhi underground. And the sign in front of the drill said, "This is the International Boring Machine." But the trouble was that was on my side, not the press side. So I said, look, guys, this is what you're missing out on. I said, you're never going to get that picture. It was great. So these are the last...
look. Yes.
So here, this is the last few. Apparently Jim Callahan did put up, when he left, a colour picture, because he wanted to start a new trend. He put up a colour picture, and then Margaret Thatcher, when she said, no, we're not having any of that. We're going to continue the conditions. So the colour picture went, and this one went up instead.
Perfect. And now, write to me.
I'm heading across London to Robin Bell's photographic lab, where everything's still done the traditional way. With all the nerves of an expectant parent, I'm anxious to see how the photographs I've taken these past couple of weeks have turned out.
I'm not sure what the chronology of it all is.
It doesn't matter. I don't think it
go
matters.
through them and see what you think. Have a first impression.
Oh, they're all exposed, right?
They are. They're technically really, really good, honestly. The mining ones are fantastic. I've had a look through. They're really, really strong.
Oh, I love it. I really do like that one.
Is this a recreation of
That's
Jarche's?
a recreation of Jimmy's pic. Oh, my God. I really can't believe it, and
It's quite a moment, isn't it?
why should I find it so emotional?
Because you did it. You did it. You cracked it. Everything you set out to do. Have a look at some more. Have a look at some more.
That's super. I'm sure this is beginner's luck. I'm sure of it. I think Jimmy was on my shoulder. I think he did these for me. I don't think it's anything to do with me.
Back at the Sunday Times magazine, John Jones casts an experienced editor's eye over my photographs.
A lot of space up here.
Yes, that's your caption.
Okay. There's a cover lines and all that kind of stuff go on there. Yeah. Okay. Not sure it works lying down like that.
No. That was shot in 1931. This is the modern equivalent, but the past is still there.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I think these then and now are always a nice idea, especially with the connection that you have. I like that.
Thank you.
That's really nice. Like that.
Would you use any?
I would use that.
Would you?
I think if we were doing an interview with him, and I think it's an accomplished portrait of him.
That the Sunday Times might even publish one of my photographs isn't something I'd ever imagined before now. I'm sure that while Jimmy would keep me in my place, he too would be secretly chuffed for his grandson. I think that by re-examining Jimmy's work and taking his camera out of its case these past couple of weeks, I've somehow learnt an enormous amount from him again. I've always loved his images, of course I have, I'm biased. But I'm really keen to know how the experts view him today. Armed with a folio of Jimmy's photographs, I'm on my way to the Michael Hoppen Gallery in Chelsea to meet 4 people who are top players in the world of photography. Curators Sue Bucklow and Colin Ford, former Sunday Times art director Michael Rand, and gallery owner Michael Hoppen.
There's a very, very tender eye, isn't there?
Well, I think this contrast between the miners, and look how young one of them is, blackness of their faces. I mean, there's a picture by Bill Brandt,
yes,
great 20th century name, who's very, very, very similar to this. But because he had this sort of arty reputation, we know the Brandt and we don't know the Jarche. It's just as good, isn't it? It's just as good.
Yeah, it is, definitely.
All the elements of the picture are exactly in the right place.
If I was Jimmy and coming to your paper, and I said, I think I've got a front page, and I showed you this.
Golly, I'd forgotten that was his photograph.
Yes.
That's interesting, that photograph. If it was 1937, I'd say thanks very much. Who's that bird with Prince of Wales?
But that's the genuine paparazzi scoop of the day.
But did that not make his name?
It would today.
It would today, yes,
today.
absolutely.
Well, we're in the days of celeb now, and I think if I'd have taken that picture, I would probably be known quicker as a photographer than I was as an actor at a younger age. Because I think I would have been credited with that today. I think it's a whole different...
Well, you'd earn a lot more.
I'd earn a lot more, wouldn't I? Thank you very much, Michael. Yes,
no, but I mean, when Fergie was caught on front, that photographer got $1 million for that picture. I'm not saying he hadn't been up the tree for a day, but that's serious money for that. I think is my favourite picture.
Do you know, I've not seen that one. That is absolutely
contemporary work of art.
Brilliant.
It's absolutely amazing.
Do you know, if we were selecting things for the gallery, we'd definitely go for that one.
Is it really?
Yeah. Well, it makes me think of Brass Eye and people like that when I look at that. It's fantastic.
Well, I'm both terrified and excited by what I've seen, because the fact is, of course, we have a pantheon of the great 20th century photographers. The Cartier-Bressons, the Curtis, the Kappas, the people like that. And whereas I'm not sure that I'm ready to put Jarche in that pantheon yet, but suddenly looking at these, I think, wow, I've spent most of my career curating shows of great photographic artists. Why haven't I looked at this man before?
To hear him appraised by you as a photographer, what you have found by looking at his work is the man I knew. And that's incredibly moving for me. I was just thinking now, if he was there, listening to this, I think Jimmy will have gone, wow, he was a big man, he would have gone, wow, thank you very much. I really didn't expect that. And if he met me at the bottom of the stairs, he'd probably go, yes!
2 weeks after we'd completed our main filming, Jimmy's work was up on the walls of a London gallery, a place it had not been seen for more than 30 years. Forgotten images that had languished in archives and many that had never before seen the light of day had been printed up and were now on show for the first time. The range and quality of Jimmy's work was a genuine discovery, not only for me it seems, but for many photographic enthusiasts and experts too. Jimmy's photography was alive again.
Comedian Lenny Henry takes us on a funny, moving journey to explore his changing relationship with Shakespeare. That's Perspectives next Sunday at 10:15. Rugby highlights next this evening here on ITV1, right after the break.